She asked us, what part has forgiveness played in our marriage? And how has it been such a substantial part of us being able to go strong 26 years? So what would you say first?
Well, the first thing I say was it's really a one-sided question because I rarely do anything wrong, and so I always have to forgive her, and she doesn't have to forgive me because I don't do nothing wrong. You know what I mean?
Except lie consistently.
Well, on occasion, you may. So.
We're so excited to be back here with Banking on the Banks. And my name was Gloria Mayfield Banks, and this is my husband,
Ken Banks.
And we're so excited to be with you because your response with the podcast has been enormous and has given us such great feedback, such great engagement, so many great questions. Right. And so many people have stopped. What have some of the people said to you about it?
Oh, I mean, I think the number one comment is how natural we look. It's like, that we just our being able to relate to each other looks genuine, looks natural. And so that's the number one comment. But many people have had comments about what we've said.
Yes.
And talked about, relationship and, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And so I think that, and so you feel a sense of hey, this is helping people.
Yeah.
This is really, it's not only, hopefully it's entertaining, but it's helping people, bringing up questions that maybe they hadn't thought about or are thinking about and just want to get a different perspective.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy the way it's worked out. And I want to talk about, the person whose idea it was for us to get together and said that he wanted to see us happen. That's Randy.
Yeah.
And Randy is the person that's behind the camera and behind the editing and all of that.
Behind the vision.
Behind the vision.
Yes.
Right, vision.
The vision.
And so he's the guy that said, look, you guys, should really do this and give it a shot. And let's see what happens. Let's see how it works out. And so we've committed, time, and he's committed his time and energy and money and So all of this is a joy and it's a blessing. And hopefully it's a tremendous blessing.
Right. You know what? It's interesting to see something manifest.
Yeah.
When we've talked about doing something together, and we didn't know what we were going to do together, but we kept saying we were going to do something together. And a lot of people had asked us about what we were going to do together.
Right.
And, since we've been doing this podcast, our conversation, my conversation, why am I the straight person?
Has improved.
And you
has improved.
Why are you the funny person? Why am I the straight person? However, you know what? Some of the people who've come to me and have said things is they have loved the laughter. People like to laugh. They have loved the stories. They have loved the transparency. And they love to travel. They've loved to watch the travel journey that we were on and we continue to go on because that's such a big part of who we be.
Right.
So it's so exciting to see that. But a lot of people are loving the fact that we're willing to talk about relationships and what goes on. And, being married 26 years, being together over 30 years. How many years it's been now? 32 years.
32.
Over 32 years. Just to know that we've seen a lot of different couples. We've seen a lot of couples stick together when it was difficult. We've seen a lot of couples break up when it was difficult. We had to make our own decisions on breaking up with our previous spouses. And how we had to stick together when it was difficult for us. And so we've done those journeys and we've helped other people walk through those journeys. And that's been exciting. And that's been a big part of this podcast.
That's very good.
Yeah. We got some questions and I'm so excited to answer some of these questions. Mrs. Banks, I saw you years ago in Philadelphia during her Mary Kay selling days. And a couple of ladies were different, but I've been following you ever since. I'm 53, been married 3 years, almost 4, and attend Strayer University online for human resources. She's been an A and B student until late last year when she kept losing family members. How can I best get back on the horse and keep going with my education?
Okay.
And what I would say to Diane is I would say you need to figure out how you can best serve those that are in front of you. Because the people that you've lost were someone that was very important to you. I often tell people that if you find you're challenged after loss, you have to take grief counseling serious. And I've dealt with a lot of people who no, I didn't try. grief counseling, but I'm struggling. And then I've dealt with a lot of people who have had grief counseling because they were struggling and they came out of it. So I first want to say to Diane and those that are listening, it's important to be aware of the mental struggles that you have. And it's important to know that people are out here to help you do so. But I also want to tell you that sometimes when you have to get back up to the caliber and the capacity that you're used to being at that A and B level, you can think about who you're going to serve to get back the motivation that you need to get back into the place where you can inspire yourself to bring out your best. And that's one of the things I would say.
I think that's very good. I mean, that's great advice. I think that her question is the same questions that so many people might have, but in a different format. And it's like, how do I keep going? Mm-hmm. How do I remotivate myself? Mm-hmm. And maybe a different part of that question. What do I do? I want to move forward, but I just don't feel like it. I just don't feel. What do I do? And so, you are the motivation expert. So, what do you tell people when? Well, let me answer for my end. I answer for my end and kick it back to you. I know there's always time in anybody's life. It seems that when you have a goal and you have a vision and you have something you want to do, it's never like a straight run.
Right.
It's never like I just walked down the path and I got there. There's always some twists and turns, and we have to navigate those twists and turns. And some people, when they get to those twists and turns, it's too much. Mm-hmm. They just fall back and say, it's too much for me. Mm-hmm. But other people can take those twists and turns and kind of go through it and get to their imagined goal. Mm-hmm. And so the difference is the motivation between A, I have a vision, and B, I've attained my vision. And what's the motivation? What is the resolve? I like the word resolve. What is the resolve that a person has to be able to go from one point to another point? Now, I understand. I don't want to take away anything from, there could be family problems. There could be, injuries. There could be health mm-hmm. problems. You lose family members, whatever it is. But nevertheless, there's still this vision that you have, and still the vision that you want, mm-hmm. because the vision hasn't gone away. Now, maybe some of the motivation behind the vision has gone away, but the vision has not gone away. The vision is still there. And so if it's still there, then I think you have to find whatever means necessary to find the energy and the strength and resolve to keep moving forward, one step after another, one day after one day. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the only way. That's the way you write a book or it's like
anything you have to
anything. Do. You have to keep on moving forward. And so I would encourage people who find themselves in a quandary. I just don't have the energy. I say the same thing to people who want to work out. They want to work out, but it's just like, oh man, it's really, really tough.
That's really hard day. I can't do it.
I got, and so it's easy to be an excusiologist. It's to find excuses not to do something. It's much harder to find the energy and the strength and the willpower to move through whatever obstacles are in the way, whether they're pleasure obstacles or pain obstacles. If we can move through all of those and get to an imagined future, I think that's what we're all pointing to. And you particularly have, and I've seen you do it so many times, but you particularly have, I know you're an expert at helping people motivate. So what do you tell people?
I loved what you just said. What you just said is really important, which is to get going, to go forward, to move forward. Sometimes we try to make it so complicated, but really it's just, what would be the next step? I'd say to Diane, what would be the next thing you need to do to get an A or a B? What's the next thing? Do you have to study tonight? Do you have to ace a paper this time? Do you have to extend a conversation that you hadn't been willing to do before? What is it that's right in front of you that you need to do to make a difference? So you've said this a zillion times too. Just get to the next class. Just get to the next day. Let me just get to Saturday. He is excellent at tracking himself and excellent at the consistency. And I'm excellent at the strategy, which is like what's right in front of you. If we could just master what's right in front of you, because so many times you're looking at the big thing. But instead of looking at the next A or B grade, what can you get an A or B on in terms of the activity you need to do today or tomorrow, Diane? Because I promise you, it'll make a difference.
That's right. I think consistency over time. And once you put in that effort every day, like I say, I lived in a neighborhood and and everybody kept their house beautiful, And I said, man, my lawn, I want this to be the best lawn in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And so I committed 15 minutes a day. Every, day that wasn't raining or something.
Yeah.
Every day that I had the opportunity to go out, that I could, I'd go outside 15 minutes of all I spent. And within a season, I had the best looking place because I gave attention to it. I had a vision about it. And just 15 minutes a day could make a tremendous difference in life. And I would say that to almost any goal that there is. If you spend whatever, you break it down into daily goals. You break it down into, I got to do this today, this tomorrow, this the next day. And so consistency over time wins the day.
Period.
Punto.
Yes. Awesome.
End of story.
Good question, Diane. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
We got a great question from Angela White. And Angela, we so love your communication with us. We so love that you get engaged and she asks us questions. She said, what are some of the 26 reasons that has made your marriage work? And I know that when we were in Asia, we sat down on our anniversary and wrote down some of the 26 reasons that we believe have been a strong part of why our marriage has lasted this long and why it's been a joy. It's been a joyful marriage for me, a joyful marriage. And one of the things was friendship.
Friendship.
That we really, truly do have a friendship. Like, I can honestly say that I love being in your space and that I look forward to being in your space. And I remember what it was like to be in a marriage where I didn't want to be in their space. I remember what it was like to be in that place where you didn't want the door to open up because then all the energy was going to suck out the door before you got in place. So right. I love our friendship. I love the fact that we honestly laugh a lot.
We do. So laughter is
another one,
it's
right?
another one, right?
Yeah,
laughter is another one. We just sometimes laugh. Half the stuff we can't tell you. Stuff that we laugh about. Just know that it's funny, and we be balling like that's unbelievable. But
And now we can't say that on the podcast. We can't say that on the podcast.
We said no, we can't do that. We can't say that. So but we just have a ball, and the energy of laughter is other people can see it and they can feel it. You know what I mean? They can feel it.
Yeah.
Blending the family, but that was such an amazing thing that we did.
Yes.
Was to be able to take 'cause when we got married, we probably said it before, but Gloria had 2 children, I had 2 children, and over the course of years we were able to blend them together, and it was such a beautiful thing to see happen. We took our time. We weren't trying to force it. We weren't trying to expose our relationship to the kids for a year, at least, and we just kind of took our time until we felt that we were going to be together. So the blending of the family was something that was amazing.
Yes. I think, okay, this is like cheesy, but the fact that you hold my hand a lot matters to me. You hold my hand on a regular basis. We hold hands at the grocery store. We hold hands when we're, with a big group of people, a small group of people. It's just like a constant thing that we can just count on, and I can just count on. And like, it's not just when we're crossing the street. It's just a degree of affection that we have a lot. And that matters to me a lot. And you liked it. And I remember when we first started going together, you talked about how some women didn't like to hold hands. And that was important to you. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that you like to do it, and I like to do it. So it's been great.
Yeah.
And what do you have?
That we support each other.
Okay.
In our relationship, and also we support each other. I think this is important. In your dreams. I support you in your dreams.
Yeah.
And you support me in my dream.
Right.
And whatever dream you have for you, that's your dream for you. I don't try to interfere. I don't get in the way. I mean, when you have your dream, sometimes your dream involved a lot of travel and a lot of time away. But I'm not going to say, I don't want you to live your dream, because it's your dream, it's your life. Mm-hmm. And you can't be happy. And so that's the thing. When a person has a dream or a vision and you try to interrupt that dream or vision, that person cannot be happy. They might acquiesce and not do what they wanted to do, but they're not going to be happy.
Right.
And so the bottom line is, if you're not happy, you can't bring happiness to the relationship.
Right.
And so I'm trying to say to you, do your dream, and you've tried to say to me, do my dream.
Right.
And together we'll find a space in between that to be together. And so I think that's a critical point.
And I think what worked for me so great with you is the art of compromise. You never told me not to do my dream. I never told you not to do your dream. But there was clear compromises that were made, and we acknowledged it. And you know what? We appreciated each other compromise. I appreciate, Gloria, if you can come home early so that we can do so and so and so. And I'd say I thank you so much for giving me the space to be out longer than I thought I was going to be. I called you on Monday, thought I'd be home on Wednesday, but I need to stay till Thursday. And you'd be, okay, baby, do you. And so we made compromise, and even when it wasn't easy, even when it wasn't convenient,
right,
which gave us the space and the flexibility and the being honored and respected for what we did.
And to bring the best out of one another.
Right.
You know, so sometimes if people will get into a relationship and it's like one person is you know, kind of organizing, doing all of this, you know, the relationship. But we're trying to get the best out of each other. There's no sense in being in a relationship if it's not a two-way street. Mm-hmm. So I know you try to get the best out of me, and I know I've given you a hard time.
Yes, you have.
About that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I mean, I'm a little stubborn, but you've tried.
Let's talk truth.
Tiny, minuscule. But you tried to get the best out of me, and I tried to get the best out of you.
Yeah.
Which wasn't easy either. I'm gonna tell you. Calm down. Woosah. So I mean, but that's another thing in our relationship that we've had.
What about adventure?
Oh.
What about adventure?
Right.
Because if I would have put us next to each other, I would say you're more adventurous than I am. You're more outside the box than I am, but I'm willing to try everything.
You're willing to try everything. You're willing to try scuba diving with me.
Skydiving.
Jumping out of an airplane that was operating relatively well. Right? And you know, all the things that
and then you tried, you went to my gym. And first you were a hot mess.
Yeah, I was.
And now he takes over the gym. And then I left the gym.
Right, then you left. You went on your way.
I went to another gym. So we've led each other to be better by our own experiences.
Right.
And we've been open to do that, which has been big.
Right.
Which has been big.
You
know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and so we have 26 reasons.
We have at least 26.
And so we're going to do, you know what we should do?
Yeah.
We should do like a seminar or something on that.
Okay.
Break apart all those 26 or more, I think, answers to that question. Mm-hmm. Is, you know, how do we relate? What do we do for each
because
other?
Because
I
think
things?
Couples do it differently.
Right.
I think we've done it the way it works for us.
Yes.
And I hope that we can inspire people to do things that work for them.
Yes.
But the bottom line is, if you can make it work, make it work.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That was a good question.
Thank you,
Ms.
White.
Yes.
And so this question comes from NY Wellness, New York.
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
And he wanted to talk a little bit about prenuptials. What is it about? How do you feel about them?
Prenuptial agreements.
Prenuptial agreements.
Okay.
Exactly. You know, so prior to marriage, when people don't have an agreement, basically, should things not go well in the marriage, these are the terms of our breaking apart. Financial terms, generally. So what do you think about it?
Okie dokie. I want you all to be aware that was a setup, okay? To see exactly how much I was willing to tell. So when we got together, Ken wanted a prenuptial agreement. And to tell you the truth, I didn't have a problem with it. And I've talked to a lot of women who have had a problem with prenuptial agreements. And the way I understood it was, what you brought into the marriage is yours, and what I brought into the marriage was mine, until you start developing things together. So, number one, I was bringing a lot, and he was bringing a lot. But I was comfortable with what I was bringing. He was comfortable with what he was bringing. And he was feeling like he needed to be protective of what he brought because he'd already been through a bad marriage. And I accepted that. I know that piece of it too. Mm-hmm. But I also knew that we were very committed to this marriage, and I knew for a fact that it was going to grow. So it was protecting just what you brought into the marriage. They had nothing to do with what you built in the marriage.
but I also want that's good. But also, we got to talk about that we didn't live in the same household for a number of years.
Right.
For 7 years.
Right.
And so we were developing separately, you know, in separate houses and all that kind of stuff. So we developed a lot separately. But you're right. So what you bring to the relationship together is still accessible.
Right. So what I'm trying to say is that my headspace was not what we were bringing to the marriage, but what we were going to build in the marriage.
Right.
And that what we were going to build in the marriage was going to be on a platform of what's yours is ours and what was mine was mine.
So that's that, but it changed. It changed. It said so now it's what's hers is hers and what's mine is hers.
That's what I just said.
Oh, that's what you said?
Yeah, that's what I just said. And that's exactly what it is.
I can't hear it.
Right. But the point of it is, what were you thinking? I told them what I was thinking.
So, you know, you were probably right. I came out of a marriage. I was traumatized. I was damaged. It was damaged goods, right? And so you come out of a really bad situation, and then you think you got a great situation, but you thought you had a great situation before, right? And then so you're like, man, I don't want to start over again. I want to, protect myself, my finances, and move on from there. And so when I proposed that to Gloria, that's not the easiest proposal, right? By the way, honey, I just thought that I'd just bring, in case we don't make it, in case we, somehow split apart. And I know that's not the intent, but if we should, that if you just sign on this dotted line over here that you can't sue me to death if you just sign. So when you do that, what were you thinking? Well, I was thinking of protection. I was, I was thinking of protecting my assets.
Okay.
And but to your it's Gloria. So she's been so much more mature than I am, in that she doesn't think that we're not going to make. She never thought that. She thought that, hey, once I get my hands on this guy, he's not going anywhere, and that literally has been the case. And so the prenup is like it has no relevance at this time. It doesn't have any, but it really didn't have any.
At this time, our prenup doesn't have any relevance.
Right,
Correct.
But it didn't have relevance to you even back then, right? It didn't really have relevance to you. So I think
why do you say that?
Because you had, when I say that, you had confidence that the relationship was going to move forward.
Yeah.
You had confidence that we were going to make it in the relationship. Mm-hmm. You had confidence that you were not going to, wind up changing. All of a sudden, because sometimes, that's relationship stuff. Well, I'll say it. Sometimes you marry somebody and you think you're one person, and then 2 years later you're like, what the heck? This is not the same person that I married, right? But you were the same person. You were the better and better person. That's one of the other things we do. We like to compliment each other.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a really good one. We're very complimentary.
Right.
Very complimentary.
It's in that list.
But I think that this is not something I've talked about out loud, that we signed a prenup, and that I signed a prenup, and that you asked me to sign a prenup, and how comfortable I was with it. And I think everybody has their own opinions.
Right.
Everybody has their own trails. Everybody has their own level of trust. Everything that you put in a prenup can mean something different for the people who ask,
right,
or the people who resist. There might be a reason for the resist, but for you and I, it worked.
But for you and I, it worked. And it's a lot of different situations. Sometimes a man will have billions, and you're like, look, I want a prenup. You have 50 million, that's fine, but I'm going to keep my 12 billion, right? So, right. There's all kinds of things.
Yeah, and the woman has billions, and
right.
she wants a prenup.
Right.
Cindy sent us a great question. She asked us, what part has forgiveness played in our marriage, and how has it been such a substantial part of us being able to go strong 26 years? So what would you say first?
Well, the first thing I say was it's really a one-sided question because I rarely do anything wrong, and so I always have to forgive her, and she doesn't have to forgive me because I don't do nothing wrong. You know what I mean?
Except lie consistently.
On occasion, you may. So that'd be my answer to this question. Period. Punto. So what do I do? So that's the question. What do I do to forgive her? Okay. What I do to forgive you? No. The question. We've had situations where we've had to step back and reassess and look at the situation that we found ourselves in, and we had to make a choice. We had to make a decision, and I think that's the crux of this whole question is that every relationship finds themselves in a position where they're not seeing eye to eye.
Right.
For one thing or another, not seeing eye to eye. And so what do you do at that point? Do you like cut bait and turn the ship around and head in the other direction? Or do you say, you know what? Bottom line is that I love this woman, or that this woman loves this man, whatever the situation is, and I'm going to do the best I can to stay in that relationship. You know, because I believe in a relationship, and I believe in the strength of the relationship, and I believe the underlying situation, that person really does love me, that person really doesn't want to hurt me, and so I just got to believe that. And sometimes it takes a while, right? It takes a month or 6 months or a year or two. I mean, it takes some time to forgive and get back together. It's
a year or two. Is that what you just said?
I did. I said sometimes the trauma can take a while.
Okay.
You don't think that? You think
no,
it's
I think
you think it's
trauma,
like day by day? Yeah, I mean.
No, I think it's trauma. But it was interesting while you were talking. One of the things that I thought was pretty substantial in our marriages is quick. We forgive quickly. You know, we don't necessarily hold on. Now, I think there's degrees.
I didn't want to talk just our, you know.
Okay.
Right.
Well, go ahead. Finish your point.
No, I didn't want to talk about just our relationship, but, you know, in relationships, that's what can happen.
Yes.
You know, you find yourself in these situations, and how do you move past that? And how do you move past it? Not only move past it with in forgiveness, but how do you then trust? You know, how do you trust whatever that situation? How do you trust, and how do you move on from that? And I mean, sometimes it's sort of like you know, you're running along smoothly, and then it's like a grinding stop, and you got to kind of get the wheels going again and starting. Mm-hmm. So that's my answer. How about you?
Okay, well, first I'll talk about what are the gifts in our relationship.
Right.
I think when it comes to forgiveness, I do think that we do it quickly. I'm not saying that all of our circumstances have been quick, but I think that one of the things that sustains a happy place where we are is that we are quick to forgive, and we're quick to not think the person was intentional. I hear a lot of people say, well, you did that on purpose, or you weren't thinking. Well, maybe I wasn't thinking, but it wasn't that I was thinking to hurt you. I made a mistake. And I think we're also, well, I'm quick to admit my mistakes, and I'm quick to force you to admit yours. Say you're sorry, say you're sorry, say you're sorry.
Oh, I know.
And so now what I say for him is like, you're sorry, aren't you? You're just sorry, aren't you? Because waiting for him to say I'm sorry could take a little bit of time. And since it's taking him a little bit of time and it's bothering me, I decided to say I'm sorry for him, because I do other things for him as well. So you're sorry, aren't you? But I think that's a big piece of it. We joke about it, but I do think that's a big piece of it. I think that holding on to that anger, we know is a problem. We know it causes a problem.
And I think also that we do whatever we can not to get into an argumentative state, or, you know, have to do something where, you know, you wind up in the ditch. So we, you know, sometimes, so we have, I think, good management with anything that might go wrong, with good management of our emotions.
You know what?
And we don't take an argument and go and just start screaming and yelling. We try to stay with that point in a relatively calm manner, right?
Right. But you know what? You and I, and mostly you, have done a lot of work, and that has made a big difference for me as you've taught me how to understand what is the ego. What's the truth and what's the ego? What's the problem and what's the ego? Why do you see it that way? And is it your ego? And I think has caused us to say, well, no, okay, it's not that big a deal. Okay, it's not that big a deal. You know, it's not that big a deal. My sister Wendy told me this quote that she heard Cher say. She said, if it's not going to be important in 5 years, I'm not going to worry about it now. Sometimes the things that we think are so monumental and important prevent people from, you know, relinquishing that anger. They prevent people from doing things that they would otherwise do.
Right. I sort of like when we go back and say, you know, we've had 10 arguments in our marriage. What was the first one? You're like, I don't know. What was the second? Yeah, we don't. I mean, literally, you don't remember, right? So if you don't remember, you know how difficult, how bad was it, right? You know, and the things that you do remember, you remember. But you know, this is one thing. When you're faced with losing a person, when you're faced with losing a person, that is when so many people really say, you know what, I really love this person. I don't want to lose this person. And sometimes it's hard to understand. It's hard to know. And the absence of something makes you understand how much you really appreciate that.
Right.
And so I think sometimes that's the case.
Right. I think too that we love to be happy.
Yeah.
We love to be happy. We love to be happy. We love to laugh, and it makes our day better. So we do things that we hope to enhance the joy and the energy in the house. Mm-hmm. So it starts a lot of times with forgiveness. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. And even on bigger issues, you know, we figure it out, talk about it, and then let it go.
Right.
And laughter makes a difference. Laughter makes a difference. We'll watch a funny movie, and it'll make you laugh.
Talking about movies. It's very difficult for us to watch the same movie at the same time.
It's true.
Well, the movies that I like to watch, I'm sort of like an action adventure guy. You know, I watch, you know, the Avengers or all the crazy stuff. You know, she's like, oh my God.
That's not all you watch. You watch the killer up movies,
oh, yeah,
the shoot 'em up movies.
John Wick. I watch John Wick. I mean,
the bang 'em up movies, the kill of the blood.
No.
Yeah.
I don't like the, you know.
You don't like horror.
I don't like horror. I don't like the horror. I don't like, you know, seeing people literally be blown up, you know. John Wick, he just killed them quick. Boom, boom, boom. You know, they're done. Ask John Wick, how many people have you killed? What? What kind of question? You mean today? What are you talking about?
What do I do at those movies?
Oh, she runs out. She runs out into the hallway.
I'm just on the edge. I'm just on the edge.
We went to see the movie Creed. And so
Creed 3,
and she loved Creed. But she couldn't watch the boxing part of it, the hitting, you know. So every time they got in the ring, she'd run outside, right? And she'd
I'm in the hallway.
Right in the hallway on the phone. I can't hear anything. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing. So the only thing we can see in the movies together are cartoons or is chick flicks.
And he hates chick flicks.
Oh, I hate chick flicks. Yeah. I mean, please, because the plot is so.
So I forgive him, but I take him anyway.
Yeah, right. Okay, you to wrap up, girl. The clean up woman.
Let me tell you something. It was truly fun to answer the questions from you guys. We love getting your questions, your comments, engaging with us, following with us, hanging with us, sharing us. We absolutely love it. And so we're so excited that you follow with us on YouTube and you hit that subscribe button. Where else can they find us? Kid?
They can find us on Apple. They can find us on YouTube. Everywhere the podcast is shown, you can find us there. Hit that subscribe button.
You see me, Gloria Banks, on IG, Gloria Banks.
And you see me, Official Ken Banks, on IG.
And we have had a blast bringing you this episode of Banking on the Banks.